Hey Akash, good evening.
Yeah, sure.
Let's get started. I will start the recording.
Am I visible?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
So Akash, you seem to have a little bit of product management or some kind of a product owner experience also, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Am I audible? Clearly, Shri?
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a little lag, but you're fine now.
Okay. Sorry for my side. Yeah. Actually, not directly, but indirectly, I was involved in one of the journey for the product development, and also have basically managed those products as well from the production.
Okay, so I think in Axis Bank, it was more of a product owner kind of role, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, and so in Newgen Software, you said achieved a 20% reduction in cash burnout, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that what did you do to achieve that? Like you say some weekly reviews, monthly audits, real time monitoring. That's
Yeah, so actually that
what were you monitoring?
yeah, sure, sure. So essentially what happened is like when our solution was not implemented as a part of the ATM processes laid out in timer. So what we did is like what they essentially what ICCI actually ICCI was a client for which we have developed the solution. So Newgen is basically a product company. So we work as an implementation engineer over there, and so basically we have our BPM as well as DMS systems to improve the cache, the case, the case indented processes. So basically, before we onboarded into their suits, basically they are using the manual process of going to the banks, and they are basically having six vendors going to the banks and then handed out the cash to the banks so that they can fill out the ATMs. But when we have onboarded, so basically all the data is being streamlined, and with that streamlined, we also being given the task to monitor and generate the report as an on the fly. So basically, we have implemented different endpoints and the major combination of major APIs, which basically deals with ATM software, which basically ICCI, all the ATMs of the ICCI uses, which is called switch system.
Okay,
So all that
okay.
transactions flows through.
So what was your role? You were a developer or you were a
So more of a developer, but generally also being in the discussion of how we can, generally in the discussion of the innovations on how we can achieve more burnout, as well as
okay.
discussion on how we can, make sure that the vendors are the process of the vendors to which they carry out the cash from the branches across the ICMC layer get fulfilled with
Okay.
within the
So what
allocated
is your how much experience you have in Spring Boot?
around 4.
4 years. So Spring Boot is a developer productivity framework, right? It makes things easier for developers.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If you are asked to improve Spring Boot framework, like make it better, what are the three changes you'll make?
Uh, Generally, mm, on the adaptability side, let's say generally what happened uh, when there's an exception comes. So there's a stack of exceptions which generally become very difficult to understand. As in when, let's say, if there's some exceptions which uh, are not happening because of what we have did, but actually because of the lag at the application context and the pain factor side. So from the exception perspective, I will try to improve, because I think those guys are not using the JDK internals, where we have where the Java layers define certain type of exceptions to call up the native code. So I think that's what I understood. And the second part, what I feel is
So what
like.
is the improvement you would do there in exception handling?
So generally, what happened is that, let's say, let's take an example of the Spring. Let's take an example of the, okay, you were talking about the Spring Boot, right? So let's take an example of the application context. Let's say I've created a library which takes care of all the cross cutting concerns. And once I handled the exception bit using the global handler or the @@ controller advice, now while defining those classes, while defining those, let's say I'm defining that resource not found exception.
Hmm.
So whenever this exception happened, if you see the stack over there was not very clear about it. So let's say we generally what happens, like whenever there's an exception, there's a stack of exceptions which occurred at the bottom of it. So what happened is, like,
Okay.
generally those exceptions are internal to the JDK internals, and then those exceptions are not being basically are not stacked up. These are being just throw at your face, and then it's for you to identify what actually happened. So basically, it
Okay.
does not.
Yeah, I understand what the problem you stated, but what is the improvement you're going to do there?
uh, Improvement as in means, let's say, I wanted to make sense that I wanted to implement in such a way that so that underlying structure what it uses, so the log stack should uh, end at some point, and it should not go into the details of what exactly happened. So let's say if I'm getting mm,
But for troubleshooting, wouldn't more detail be better than less detail?
no, but
Because with more detail, you can choose how deep you want to go. But when there is less detail, then you don't have an option even if you want to go deep, right?
no, but if the exceptions, for some of the exceptions, that's okay. But if you look into the exceptions of, let's say, um, mm, I don't recall the
Let's
exception, but I have
let's
gone
move
through.
on, Akash. I have posted a problem in the chat window. Please copy it to your desktop and share your screen with me.
So, should I copy all the things?
Yeah, it's a single problem.
Okay, sure. Let me share this. I don't know once it is. I shared. Are you able to see? Just a minute. Let me share the entire screen. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is. Though your notepad is not responding.
This, yeah, stuff. So, so see what is the goal is to make the maximum of these differences as small as possible. Maximum of these differences as small as possible. Maximum difference among all distribution. Which goal is to make the maximum of these differences as small as possible. I just wanted to understand one point here. So our goal is to make the maximum of these differences as small as possible. Uh, so ideally, this should be the solution. So basically, if I'm considering these two distributions, this is the one which we are looking at. With the maximum of these differences as small as possible. Is my understanding correct?
What was your question?
My question is like, let's say, if I'm taking these two examples, and so our optimal solution should be the same. It should
Yeah,
not
number
be.
three is
Oh,
three is the solution here.
okay. And we are into types.
You can give me the pseudo solution first before you start coding.
Okay, sure. So, uh, I was thinking, let's sort the array first, so that uh, and then basically what we do is like count the number of elements, and then
Mhm.
go by the base case. Let's say if I'm dividing it with 3, and then if it comes, and then we start checking repeatedly, like if it is making sense. Basically what we do is like take a math of basically be taking the mean. Basically what we do is like taking the base case. Let's take an example. So if this being the example, so I will sort it out, and then so that it becomes like this. And then essentially this element consists of I think 12. 3, 12. I think it consists of 9. So we will divide it by 3 and 3, 3. And then we start uh, checking iteratively. Now from the second point onward, when we iterate through it, we can see if we so what we can do. So iteratively we will see if addition of any element uh, will give us a minimum from this, sorry, a minimum from this. If not, then we are going to reduce it, and we'll see. Okay, if if this makes sense, then we are going to keep it. Let's say I'm going to remove it. So basically, let's say if I'm taking this three solution, so basically what I did is like uh, I will try to segregate in such a way like 1, 3, and 4, and then essentially the second group seems to be like uh, 5, 6, and 7, and should be 8. Um, so I will make this one, and then basically I will try to find out the difference. So I think this will result in 3, this will result in 2, and this will result in 3 as well. So if I see here,
That will be 4.
sorry, so if I see there, the maximum of it comes to PS4. So what I did is like then you will go ahead and start incrementing first to check whether this makes sense or not. So I'm going to increment only on those, or I'm going to reduce only on those which I'm getting that okay, this is the maximum I'm getting, so I'm going to reduce it so that we get to see whether what is the optimal solution. There's a problem with this being, I think it will
So
do
let me
just.
give you a clue here. There is no optimized way of doing this. You cannot do it the way you are doing it. You need to get all the combinations and evaluate each of them using brute force.
Okay, only brute force. That in this case, I will sort out, and then I will keep only 2 element here so that I can get a difference. I cannot get the difference from one itself. So,
You can have one element also, in which case the difference for the group would be 0 because the largest and the smallest are the same.
okay, because I can also take.
So your group 1 difference is 0.
Just wondering what the okay. So I think brute force would be like that. So if I so I think the brute force will be I keep on adding the element in the first one, and the remaining remains the same until we reaches to one element for each group, and then once that happens, uh, once that happens, then we the way to be to
Go ahead and show that logic. You can code it.
so,
So you are going to do this iteratively, right? So we'll just show that iteration logic.
on the word. So not going to write some logic.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is like, do you want me to write the sum logic? That's not. That's okay.
What have
Just
you?
summing the element. That's
Why do you want to sum the elements?
no, just to no. Sorry, difference.
So you're just doing
Okay.
from start to end. Start list equal to new release. So what did you do? What you didn't do
So
anything. You just initialize some 3 array lists.
no, I'm just started. So I'm just asking like, do I need to write the difference logic as well? Like, should I write the difference logic?
First, just write the segregation logic. Though.
Okay. You see? Into which GB system. So We have it.
That's okay, Akash. I get the idea where you're going. You're sort of on the right track, but I think you'll take
No,
some
actually,
more.
yeah, actually,
Some
I'm
there.
just wondering like whether we take that CC bucket or I should get started with the one element and adding the element back again. So
Okay, I'm going
that's
to give you one more problem.
okay.
Just pick it up from the chat window. This is a much more simpler coding problem. You have to take that input and give me that output. Make sure your code is well structured. You handle the edge cases and follow all the best practices. You'll need an IDE for this, or you can use an online compiler.
Any but would be fine.
Sorry?
I can take the ID. That is fine.
Yeah, you can use the IDE. You don't need to explain anything. You can just code and show me that output. I'll be back in a few minutes. You continue with this.
this is empty. This otherwise. Srini, I think we are done, but I think some issue with my ID. Unable to understand. Not sure what happened.
I'm sorry.
I think I'm done with the question. I think some issue with my ID because I'm unable to understand. So not sure what happens. Can I move to the online compiler? If that's fine.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that about looks fine. Can you input a empty string? Okay, didn't return anything. Can you input a single letter? Okay. Can you input a null?
Sorry.
Null. No, not the string null.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Not bad. Okay. You can stop sharing your screen. What do you understand by connection pooling?
Connection pooling is basically a way to utilize the resources in a better way, so that both from the CPU side or from the resources side, it can be optimized. So let's say we have thread pool, we have DB connections pools, and other stuff. So the by default it uses different things, but as and
Mhm.
when the application grows or it shrinks in size, you have to adjust those connections to. Otherwise, it will remain idle and then consume some resources and space. Sorry, consume some memory and resources.
Okay. Let's say you were asked to design the backend for a food delivery app like Swiggy or a Zomato, right? What all microservices will you have?
Um, okay, so there should be microservices. If we are designing all our, so there should be a microservices called which takes care of all the payment. Then there's a microservice which takes care of all the users' data. And
Okay.
then there's also a order. And then if we are also monitoring, also managing the location of the delivery guy, then this also becomes microservices on it. So, however, the impact will, however, the size will not be that, but it can act as a. And apart from that, it can have a restaurant uh, and restaurants and um, I think these comes as an entity, so we don't require the separate microservices on it. Because with each microservices, we are also managing our own its own databases. So I think these are the four major
So did you say restaurant is a separate service or not?
things.
It's not.
No, no.
Okay. Um, which of these services do you think needs to be most scalable?
Mm, I think the user one and as well as the restaurant one. Sorry, the transactions one.
Which transaction?
Like the payment one. Sorry, the payment one.
Okay, that's the most scalable.
Yeah.
Uh, so when you want to order food delivery, what's the first thing you would do?
Mm, search to the food, and then goes to um, the restaurant and numbers of restaurant and try to figure out. So, so food items, I think uh, can be the part of the data. Uh, uh, can be part of the database itself. And then it has to be. It has the transaction layer where takes care of the addition and all those things.
Hmm, okay. Any other services you can think of?
But,
No, that's okay. So, any new technologies you learned in the last 6 months?
uh, actually, I was preparing for the AWS certification. So,
Okay.
I started.
Do you use GenAI for your productivity?
Sorry, come again, Jenny?
Do you use GenAI for your productivity, like ChatGPT?
Yeah, yeah, I do use.
In what ways?
For my own personal ways. So I have since like let's say if I wanted to understand something, some part of the application, some part of which I don't understand from the let's take an example of the AWS component if I wanted to understand in a short. So uses that a lot. Like some formatting, I want like how can I respond a Kafka message? Uses that as well.
Okay. Those are all the questions I had, Akash. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, Srini. So just wanted to understand like I was reading through the Zomato um, website. So, I was just wondering like all the clients are all the startup, or is it like we are also catering to some other companies who was not who are into more into, basically they are not currently in the startup and they have moved forward.
About 70% of our customers are startups, 30% are Fortune 500 companies. So our strategy is to work with startups to learn the innovation use cases and innovation technology, and then apply the same to deliver results for Fortune 500 companies. So that's our execution strategy. You can attend a discovery session on Friday.
Okay. Actually, I've attended one. I just got 5 minutes of time at the end. So,
Maybe you can
unfortunately,
attend this one
sure,
for the full 1 hour.
sure.
I usually spend about an hour going through our about our company and what's our DNA and how we execute. All right.
Sure.
Thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you on Friday then.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
sir.